So they say the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. Is that true? Let's talk about it. So, how do we know after we've been in a relationship, we've had heartbreak, we've been through a lot of drama and trauma, and we kind of want to get back out there? Maybe you've had a little bit of time. Maybe you're like, it was a really bad situation for me, and I want to find a good relationship. So, how do we know when is a good time to get back out there? So, the first thing to know is that our nervous system holds on to all of our memories, all of our negative memories to be precise, because it wants to keep us safe from the future. So, it's going to remember everything that you have been through that has been painful to protect you from everything happening again in the future. So, your body is going to send signals when it recognizes a memory or a sense or an emotion or a narrative that you're hearing that reminded you of a past heartbreak or a past situation that hurt you. So it's going to send signals into your body to react and to respond. Some people go into a fight or flight. They start to get fidgety. You can maybe start to feel queasy in your stomach. Maybe you feel like tightness in your chest, right? So our bodies will send a signal to say, oh, hello, don't forget, right? Like this is a bad thing. And some people shut down. Some people kind of do the opposite, where they sort of go into this state of I'm just going to freeze. I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to just observe or like disconnect. And that's how our body is protecting us from these things happening. The problem is that part of the brain is only for survival, meaning that it's going to remind you of these things, but sort of in a reptile kind of a way, right? It's going to go, oh, this could be a bear, start running. It's not engaging in the logical part of the brain if you've already begun this fight or flight response. That part of the brain that's analyzing, communicating, problem solving begins to sort of shut down the further you are in this process. So we think it's logical, but it's basically a lizard saying, oh, shadow could be a monster when it could just be a cloud, right? So we have to kind of calm ourselves down in order to understand that, yes, maybe this is something that is important for us to remember. But can we begin to problem solve, analyze? Is this situation the same? Can we take this moment for what it is? Or are we looking at our past all the time? So if we're constantly trauma responding to everything, we're creating a lot of pain, not just for other people, but for ourselves, because it continues the narrative that the world is scary and we can't trust it and we can't trust other people and that things are always going to be happening to us, as opposed to being more empowered in our mindset, right? So if we're hearing something that reminds us of our past, once you've had time to kind of process, reset, spend some time kind of getting back into yourself, into your body, feeling safe, feeling like you know yourself well enough that you can kind of, it's not that we're forgetting what we've been through, but we can honor ourselves and trust ourselves more. So if you're, let's say, on a date and some trigger happens, you can go, okay, something's happening, and really how important is it? And maybe I need more information, or maybe this is reminding me of something. What do I need to do in this moment for myself? So I use this as an example just to kind of help people. So let's say in your past relationship, just as a random example, your last partner spent all weekend watching football, right? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever, right? And all this time was spent watching football instead of spending time together and doing things together or helping around the house or whatever. And then you meet somebody who says, you really like this person, and you meet this person, they say, I'm an avid football fan. Really love good football games. And you're like, oh, nope, not doing that again. And you're like, I'm ghosting. I'm done, right? I am not playing that game anymore. But it would be important to recognize that this thing is happening for you, right? We're not negating your past experiences. It must have felt very lonely to be, abandoned for the entire weekend, whatever it was in this example. But what we are saying is maybe this situation is not the same. So maybe I should ask them, well, what games do you like? What's your favorite team? Do you watch it all the time? Right? What else do you like to do on your weekends? Because then it begins to get better information so that you're not just trauma responding to something that you've been through in the past, right? And so we find out more information. Once we have all the pieces of the puzzle about the person, then we can make a decision about whether we want to keep moving forward or whether we don't. But it's really important that you spend some time regrounding your own sense of self, your nervous system, your coping mechanisms, the triggers, all the things, because it's going to really come up to light when you're trying to connect with someone, or when you might want to connect with someone. And so it's important to recognize this. So yes, once we kind of go through this process for a little while, and we can kind of reset and reground and kind of find safety in ourselves again, then if we go back into the dating world, that will help us continue this process, as long as we're in a place where we can do both. Because it's not fair to ourselves or other people in the field if we are constantly trauma responding to our past. That's not fair to them. There are good people that want to connect. There are good people that want to be curious. And if we're trauma responding, we may not connect with them because something is triggering us. And then that causes more pain for them and more distrust for them of the world. So let's stop that cycle. When I was in the dating world, I spent about a little less than a year just resetting myself, finding my ground again, finding my tools, finding my happiness, rerouting myself. So I felt really good, so that when I did finally begin to date again, I was grounded enough to say, okay, I'm having a moment. What is this thing that's happening? Okay, if it doesn't work out, I'm okay. I go back to my ground. If I just need a night to just lick my wounds because my feelings got hurt about something, I just go back to my ground and I survive and keep moving forward. So it's really important that we are grounded in ourselves, to feel safe in ourselves before we're going out there and trying to connect with others. Also, the oxytocin in our body is going to attach to this person, right? When we are sexual with someone and attached to someone, our nervous system remembers this person, is focused on this person, right? Think about mothers and babies. You're always thinking about your baby. What's the cry? What's this? What's their schedule? What do they need? When we do this, this happens. When we do that, that happens, right? The same thing is happening with your partner and your attachment. So for a while after a breakup, you're going to still think about them. You're going to still feel that grief. You're going to still feel that loss, because your nervous system is rerouting. Oh, this isn't something I'm focusing on. And it takes a little while for your body and your brain to reroute that. Right? Like, how long would it be if you didn't see your kid before you stopped thinking about them all the time? It takes a while. So again, it's not really fair, because if you're thinking about that person, you're also comparing, right, good and bad, to anybody else that you're meeting. So making sure that your nervous system has the proper time to reset and not be so attached to that person neurologically, so that you can give somebody else a real chance. So it's an intuitive response about when to begin to date again. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect. We do not have to be perfect. We've all been through stuff. We're all going to have experiences. We're all going to have triggers. We're all going to have these moments. But do you have enough of your own self-ground and empowerment to have the tools to listen to yourself, to know what's going on, and then to be intentional about how you're responding to other people and possible connections? All right. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.